Hello and welcome to the Startline podcast with me, Beth Espy. This is where we get behind the scenes with road racers, from signing up for events and prepping their bikes to finding the funds and making the dream a reality. We're going to follow riders all with one goal in sight: to line up at the Manx Grand Prix in 2026. Well, thank you so much as ever for downloading this episode of Startline. We've had over 3,000 downloads now over the series so far, which is just brilliant, from all over the world, literally, even places like Nepal, which is quite incredible. So thank you so much for your support. We're going to meet another MGP hopeful in this episode then. This is Andy Hurd. He's 42. He's from Garstang in Lancashire. And this is his story.
Started racing maybe 8 or 9 years ago. Started on road racing about 3 years ago, possibly 4. And the goal has always been to have a go on the Isle of Man course.
So Andy, when you were sort of growing up and whatever, were bikes a big feature of your life then?
They were, yeah. I used to mess around on motorbikes when I was at school in fields and stuff, like most young lads. My dad had a motorbike, so probably stemmed from that. He wasn't into racing as such, and I wasn't at a young age, but yeah, bikes have always been a part of my life.
So I suppose the question then is why maybe you didn't start it a little bit earlier?
That is a good question. As soon as I turned 17, I had a bike, and I didn't get my driving license until I was about 20 something. But I was never really into racing. I used to watch it on TV, but never really thought it was something that I could do myself until I started doing some track days. And obviously one thing leads to another. You meet people put ideas in your head, and away you go.
I always think it's amazing, these track days, and they've got a lot to answer for, really, because so many people sort of start out that way. What kind of things do you get to do on a day like that?
You're just having a laugh with your friends, aren't you? You turn up, there's no pressure. You all egg each other on. You're all having a laugh. Hopefully the sun's shining. The rain will put a spoiler on a track day, but it's just a good day out. You know, it's a lot more fun riding around any track than it is riding on the road. You can go faster. It's safer. It's just a good day out.
It's interesting what you said there then. So if it's safer on the track than it is on the road, why would you want to do the road?
Well, when I started racing, I've always watched the TT. If you're into bikes, you know what the TT is. The first time I went over there, I was early 20s. I went over with my dad and I started watching it then. It was always, it's a passion, isn't it? Once you've seen the TT, you're amazed by it. And when I started racing and I started doing okay, I thought, oh, what do I want to do with it? What do I want to get out of it? What's the goal? And I thought, that niggle was in my head. I thought, do you think can I make it there? Can I do what I need to do to get accepted to race there? And that's kind of why I've ended up chasing it.
Do you know, constantly fascinated by the idea of you sitting there one day just watching and thinking nothing even entering your head about the fact that you might be doing it one day. And then here you are, you put your expression of interest in, and you're just like, if you could go back and tell yourself that's where you were at this point, I wonder what you'd say.
You don't think like that, do you? I mean, when I started racing, I was just doing it for a laugh. I just thought, oh my God, I can go and race these. And then you just keep doing it and you get better and better over time. You get a little bit better, and your results get better. And then you kind of get a little bit of self-belief. And you think, oh, hey, maybe I could do that. Maybe I should set a goal. And the way I did it is I just set little goals, get your first race win and see how you can do in a full championship, and it progresses. And then, of course, comes your first road race. And once you've done that, then you're desperate to get there then.
Where was your first road race?
It was the Tandragee. I remember when I first booked that, people were saying, oh, I'm going to do my first road race. And I tell people it was Tandragee. And they said, oh, I think you're spitting a little bit more off than you can chew with that one. But I had a great time. I loved it. And it's carried on from there.
And when it comes to sort of the reality of it and actually being out there, how does it match up to how you expected it to be?
As in racing at the Tandragee, I loved the circuit of the Tandragee, but it was plagued with rain. So it kind of put a bit of a downer on it. And doing your first road race there, it's a fast circuit. It was a bit of an eye-opener. I came in after a couple of sessions in the rain and my wife was with me. And she said, she looked at me and she said, oh, are you all right? I said, I looked at her and I thought, what am I doing here? It didn't stop me going out again. I mean, a bit of nice weather would have made it a lot more pleasurable, I can tell you, but it didn't put me off.
Well, it's a good job you want to come and race at the MGP because we are known for our brilliant weather over here, Andy. You'll be fine.
Oh, no, yeah.
So at what point then did the MGP become a little bit more of a realistic goal for you?
Well, once I decided I wanted to come over to the Isle of Man, I just looked at what I had to do. So I knew I had to do more road racing. I knew I had to get some better results. I knew I had to buy a bike that would, that would fit one of the classes for a newcomer. So I chose Super Twins. I've been doing a lot of Super Twin racing for the past 4 years. Race 600s as well. So any one of those two would be all right. But I've also bought a little 400 as a classic as well. Do what you can to give you the best opportunity to get accepted. Once you're there and you've done it, you're away, I think, aren't you?
And obviously you're trying to do this alongside real life, which is family and work and whatever. How does that all fit in for you?
It can be difficult at times. I'm self-employed, so when I'm not at work, I'm not earning, I'm spending. And of course, the wife and the kids, they want their holidays, so you've got to squeeze those in. And money as well. Racing isn't cheap. It was at first when you didn't care about results and you didn't have this big goal set out ahead of you. But the more you want to do it, the more you spend and the more it costs.
And do you ever think about the sort of the sacrifices that you have to make, I guess, personally, but also your family as well?
Yeah, there are some sacrifices, but I don't think, my wife knows exactly how much, she knows how much I want to do it. She would never tell me to not do it. I think I'd be a very awkward person to be around if I was told I couldn't do it.
And any of the kids sort of showing any interest in following you?
No, I did try to get the girls on a motorbike when they were younger, bought them little pit bikes to play on in the fields and stuff, which they did do for a small spell, and then they sat in the garage for a few years gathering dust, so they got sold on, and now they're not interested. It's all makeup and fashion now for them.
You never know. That might just be a phase, eh? And then you're talking about being self-employed. What is it you do?
I'm a central heating engineer.
So you were saying that this is your time of year, really, isn't it? So you must be absolutely flat out, which I guess when there's not much bike action going on is not necessarily such a bad thing.
It kind of works out well. There's no racing to do in the winter and it's my busiest time. And in summer, there's always something to do in summer, but you're not turning as much work away.
And then from the other side of the finance thing and sort of thinking about sponsors and whatever, have you got anybody on board like that?
Yeah, I have a couple of sponsors this year. I've been really bad at chasing sponsorship. I have tried in years gone by, but it's difficult. I find it hard to ask. But this year, I've had 2 people jump on board. There's a lady called Jo. She has a company called Air Tool Services in Preston. She did actually try to sponsor me last year, and I turned her down because I didn't want to be under pressure to impress somebody. So I turned her down. But this year she's jumped on board and she's bought me a leather suits and all the gear I need. So a big thank you to her. I mean, that's a big bill for me to pay. And I'm going over to the Northwest 200 as well next year. And there's a haulage company. They're paying for all my travel expenses and stuff, which could be one of the biggest bills for that. And, there's a couple of vans to take over, a caravan, and a couple of mates to take over as well. They're covering all that cost. So it's not necessarily cash that you need for sponsorship. It can be favours, it can be anything. A jerry can full of fuel can be a big help sometimes.
And I think it's really interesting what you said, that sense of responsibility and not wanting to almost, I don't know, have to be responsible for a sponsor because, you've got enough to think about, I guess, when you're doing a race. And that's just maybe a little bit of an added pressure.
Yeah, it is for me. I don't know why. If you think there's a load of eyes on you, it makes me a little bit more nervous. But when you think that you're doing it on your own, and you're doing it for yourself, it feels less stressful for some reason.
Because you feel like you almost owe them something, don't you?
You do a little bit. You feel like you're coming away with a bad result when someone's chucked a load of money at you. You don't want that, do you? You want to impress them and you want them to feel like it was a good investment for them.
Just thinking about sort of the nerve side of thing, only because you sort of mentioned it there. Do you get nervous before a race? How do you handle it?
It's a strange one, really. I've been on the start line before and felt no nerves whatsoever. I'm more excited than anything, and you're itching to let the clutch out and go when the lights turn off. There's been other times where you look around you and you think, oh my God, I've done it again. Why am I here? somebody get me to the end of this as quick as you can. But of course, every race, once you set off, the nerves are gone. You're in a world of your own.
And when you come in after a race, I guess the sort of almost having to sort of decompress and go over everything that happened and whatever is possibly quite an important part of it. Do you have to sort of download almost?
You just want to go again. You cross the lines, you're out of breath, knackered, and you think, oh, I'd love to do that again. But then, of course, you've got to go through that nervous phase all over again to do it.
So, Andy, what's been your best results so far?
Well, best results. I've had some good results. I've had a few race wins, and the first championship I did was with No Limits. That was a Super Twins championship in 2021 or 22. I can't remember now. 21. I came second in that championship. So 21, I came second in No Limits. 22, I was going to do the same championship again, but I had a bad crash at the start of the year and wrote the bike off, so that was 22 out the window. I think I won a couple of championships at Aintree. I think they're the only full championships I've done since then, to be honest. I won the Super Twins Championship, and they have a up to 750cc Twins Championship as well. I won both of those in the same year. I think it was 24 that.
Well, that's amazing though, isn't it? Because obviously it's one thing absolutely loving doing what you do, but when you're actually pretty good at it as well, it kind of just bit of the cherry on the top, I guess.
Yeah, it's nice wherever you are if you can pull a decent result. If you can go on with a trophy on your dashboard from any race round, you go on with a smile on your face.
Where do you keep your trophies?
You're gonna laugh. I don't have any on display in the house. They're all in the garage. Most of them are in drawers. There's quite a few of them, so I don't know what to do with them.
You've not got a downstairs toilet? Is that not where everyone puts them so everyone can see?
No, we're in the process of renovating an old cottage at the moment, so there's not really anywhere for me to put any of them on display. I will do eventually once the house is done. I'll drag a couple.
Oh, that's amazing. Are you doing a lot of the work yourself, or are you getting people in? Because that's never a very stress-free thing to do, is it?
Well, at the moment, it's getting people in. It's builders and joiners and roofers. But once we've got a watertight shell, that's where I can take over, and I can do plastering and plumbing and gas work and stuff like that.
Sort the heating, yeah?
Definitely have to get the central heating in sharpish, won't I?
So just thinking about you hopefully being over here for MGP next year then, Andy, how prepared do you feel for that in terms of knowing the course and all that? Have you done many laps around so far?
As for knowing my way around the course, I know it really well because I've been going over since my early 20s. I've been over, I've been going over to the Isle of Man for over 20 years on my bike for TT and other events. So I know the course. Strangely enough, though, I don't know the names of all the corners, but I know my way around. Obviously, I'm watching a lot of onboard laps, that they do help. I've tried the TT game. I can't get on with it. I just cannot do it. I'm useless. But I've also got a bike over there. I've got a friend that lives over there. He's kept one of my motorbikes in his garage. I just have to get a cheap flight, ride round for a day and fly home again. So that's a big help.
Have you got any idea of how many laps you might have done?
Countless. Over the years, I couldn't even hazard a guess. It'd be far too many.
Do you not get bored going around and just doing the same thing time and time again?
Well, I think when you go over to the Isle of Man, when you don't live there, the first thing you do is, I'll do a lap. I'll nip round and do a lap because it gives you somewhere to go. It gives you something to do when you're there. But now I'm in a position where I'm going to have to do a lap really quickly. It's kind of forcing me into doing more than I would usually do.
And I think it's interesting to say you don't know the names of the corners because I think people have got very different ways of learning, and some people like take detailed notes and whatever. Some people just sort of almost visualize it in their head. Are you more of a visual person?
Well, I think because when I started going over, I just used to ride round as a spectator for the TT. You're not going round trying to remember corner names. You just want to know where you're going. You're like driving to work. You just do it. You go to like autopilot. I think that's why I've not learned I've not learned as many corner names as I should. But it's dripping in now. I need to know it. I need to know every corner. If somebody mentions something, I need to know exactly which part of the track we're talking about. So I am on with trying to nail every corner.
And obviously, not too far away from you, a fairly well-known MGP and TT rider, John McGuinness. It's not that far, is it? Is he somebody that you've sort of grown up watching over the years?
Yeah. Everyone knows John McGuinness, don't they? He's a quick old boy, isn't he? I have a couple of lads that race round where I live, and Frank Raffles is my next door neighbour. And Lewis Harris Smith, he lives in the next village along. He's only about 6 or 7 miles away. He had a win at the Manx last year.
And it just seems from everyone that you talk to, when you're in this road racing world, everyone is genuinely really friendly. There's a real sort of camaraderie between people. And I think, there's a real sense of support. Have you got people in your own little circle?
I do, yeah. There's a little group of us. Lad called Tim Walsh is the lad that sort of introduced me into racing. Really, he was a newcomer a couple of years ago at the Manx, and he went last year, and I was his spanner man. And Martin, he's been a great help. He's a mechanic. He does a little bit of racing as well. He comes everywhere he can. Curtis and Andy Blacker. There's 5 of us. We all help each other out as much as we can. But it's if they're not self-employed, they're taking time off work using the holidays. So it's difficult, and it's a big commitment when you've only got so many holidays, and you're married, and you've got to take your kids on holiday as well. So I'm very thankful for the help that I get off those boys. They're little diamonds, really.
Sure, your girls think a holiday to the Isle of Man is just the best thing ever.
I think they'd rather be on a beach with a bikini on myself.
Yeah, Costa del Peel. And it's really interesting that being with Tim. I guess seeing that side of the racing for you is interesting as well, because it's one thing being the rider and out there, but actually just understanding the dynamics of how a team works will be really helpful.
Yeah, it was good to go out there and help Tim for the last couple of years, because you're behind the scenes. You see what's going to happen with your bike, where it needs to be, the running order. You just feel a bit more comfortable when you get there yourself, that you're not going to feel lost.
So I guess as we're talking then, Andy, it's just a bit of a waiting game, isn't it? Are you sort of refreshing your emails all the time, waiting to see if there's going to be any news?
I am, yeah. After last year's hiccup, I actually had an entry accepted for last year's Classic TT, and I didn't receive the emails. Long story short, I had some accounts hacked into, so I had to set up a temporary email, and they were trying to respond to me to the one I had to cancel. And I got a phone call from somebody 2 weeks before the event saying, "We haven't heard anything, what's going on?" And I said, I've had no idea that I could come over. I said, "I'll put an entry in next year." And they said, "Yeah, no problem. Make sure you get it in." I was absolutely mortified. I couldn't believe it. But they were really good on the phone. I explained it all to them, and they said, "Make sure you get that entry in for next year." So it's all guns. But yeah, I'm checking the emails.
I guess so. You have to be philosophical, don't you? And just believe that everything sort of happens for a reason and whatever. I wonder if maybe that gives you a little bit more of a sense of confidence that hopefully things will go your way.
Yeah, I feel confident I'll get an accepted. I think I'll get accepted this year. Yeah, I'm fairly confident. But don't count on it until you've got that, confirmation email.
In terms then of where people can keep up to date with how you're doing and what you're doing, are you on social media?
Yeah, I'm pretty much only on Facebook and Instagram. You can find my private page, just Andy Hurd, or I've got Gasman Racing. My company is Andy the Gasman. You find Gasman Racing on Facebook as well. You can give us a follow on there.
That explains your email address, because I was going to ask you about that, but it kind of all makes sense now.
Yeah, Andy the Gasman. That's the company name. I didn't choose it. It just it kind of chose me.
Well, you've got to have something a bit distinctive, haven't you?
When I first set up, everyone was ringing me saying, all the customers were ringing saying, "Oh, is that Andy the Gasman?" And I heard it that many times that I just thought, I'm just going to have to call the company name that. It's all I'm known as.
Andy, it's been brilliant talking to you. How's Christmas looking for you and the family?
Not too bad. I'm nearly there with presents. I've not got them all, but I'm nearly there. It's wrapping them all up I'm dreading. It's always a long evening when you're wrapping presents.
You're going to wrap and watch an onboard at the same time? See how quickly you can do it?
It's not a bad idea, actually. Give it a go.
Andy, great to talk to you. Thank you so much. Keep in touch and keep checking those emails.
Thank you very much, Beth. Nice to talk to you.
Andy Hurd, who hopefully will have all the Christmas wrapping done by now. Brilliant to talk to him. And oh my God, honestly, the email story just made me feel a little bit sick. I cannot imagine what that was like. Fingers crossed for this year. Do give Andy the Gasman a follow on social media, and we'll keep up to date with how he's doing. Time now to hear from another rider who did the MGP for the first time a couple of years ago. This is Andrew Jones, and he tells us what he wished he'd known before he took on the mountain course for the first time.
Hi Beth. One thing I wish I knew before would be just how mentally draining between the sessions was. Sort of in the downtime, sort of building up to each session and each race. Obviously my team were doing all the work on the bike. I had quite a lot of downtime myself, which was quite hard to deal with because I had to keep myself busy. because I just sort of get this bit of nervous energy, like my mind didn't know what to do with itself, and you're trying to keep things normal, trying to act like everything's calm, but inside you're sort of rehearsing every scenario. Which was, I don't really get that in any other sort of walk of life, but out there, I just sort of tended to overthink quite a bit and get very nervous, and I found that quite hard to deal with. But apart from that, like obviously getting on the bike, as soon as I was on the bike, it was relaxed, all the noise stopped. And it was the best experience I ever did. And if we had the money as a team, we would be there. We'd be there again next year. And going forward, but it's just, we had 2 great years there. And we're going to do a couple of other road races next year. But never say never, getting back to the island, I would absolutely love to. Yeah, so thank you.
Andrew Jones, I think, brilliantly describes what that atmosphere is like when you're sort of caught up in the nerves, just wanting to get out there and just trying to settle yourself a little bit. Once again, I'll put Andrew's details on the podcast page, so do give his social media a follow, and hopefully we will see him back here on the island very soon. Thank you very much indeed for listening to this episode of Startline. Do take some time to find the riders on social media. Your support is very much appreciated. And if you'd like to get in touch with me and be part of the podcast in the future, you can email beth@startline.im. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye.